How does President Biden get out of the problem that Morning Joe just described?
Well, first of all, I think this polls are not as bad as the CNN poll. We've got a Marist poll that, has Biden up 5 nationally. We have the benchmark for college students, the Kennedy Center Institute of Politics poll that has Biden well ahead among college students who are likely voters, and if Trump gets convicted, by ahead even more.
So you're saying you don't see these protests, live pictures of Austin will put up, you don't see these protests as a threat to President Biden?
Here's what I think they need to get to the bottom of. How many of these are not students? Because the actual students at Columbia, Yale, and I'm guessing maybe even Harvard are smart enough to know because the issues they care more about are climate change, gun safety, abortion, racial equity. If they rank ordering all their issues, we see this. They care more about that than Gaza, which is at 2%. So if they're really as smart as I think these students are, then they can see that it's counterproductive to the fact that the person that they're trying to, at the end of the day, the issues that they care about will be advanced by Biden and not by Trump.
I don't understand this argument. Do you?
No. So, I mean, basically, look, Biden is trying to thread a very thin needle, and it's a 2-state solution, Michigan and Minnesota. He is so unpopular. And if you look at the Reuters poll from just a few weeks ago, Biden won with young voters by 24% in 2020. He's now only leading by 3%. And I don't think it's Gaza. I think it's inflation. They can't afford homes. They can't afford gasoline. They can't afford all of those things.
We got Trish on the economy issue later. I guess my point, Richard, is that it may not just be these voters. I'm not sure why it matters whether they're students or not. These are all people who would normally be voting enthusiastically for Joe Biden, certainly did in 2020. My question is this. There's a feeling of disorder in America. And when you've got this happening on college campuses and you've got people chanting about intifada and revolution and carrying the flag of Hezbollah and carrying the flag of Hamas, Americans see that and they just feel weird about it, don't they? Right. How does he solve that?
Here's the answer. Joe Biden is saying that anti-Semitism is wrong. Donald Trump has dinner with very prominent anti-Semites, very prominent white nationalists. Those are part of his base. That's who he summoned on January 6th when he told the Proud Boys to stand by their prominent anti-Semites and white nationalists. So the contrast, and these students know that. These students know that there's a world of difference. And incidentally, again, the Harvard poll, the most recent one, had Biden up 23 among college students. So, I mean, you can talk about polls all you want.
Whether it needs enough. I guess you think, though, about Donald Trump in this situation, Mark. Donald Trump has done something oddly that he never does about a situation, which is be quiet about this.
Yeah, I mean, he actually sees this imploding in front of Joe Biden, and when your opponent is self-destructing, don't get in their way. I think he's learning on this one. But the other thing we have to say is, look, it's very clear right now. I mean, Joe Biden has waffled back and forth on supporting Israel and supporting these radical pro-terrorist protesters, and it's very clear.
He both sized it. I mean, I don't think he ever supported them, but
both sides kind of worked for Joe Biden. That was part of his campaign.
Hold on, it's interesting though when you think about how the rhetoric from the president, it matters. What the president says does matter. This was Ronald Reagan at the Brandenburg Gate in 1987 speaking about communism versus the West and freedom. Take a listen.
I have read and I have been questioned since I've been here about certain demonstrations against my coming. And I would like to say just one thing, and to those who demonstrate so. I wonder if they have ever asked themselves that if they should have the kind of government they apparently seek, no one would ever be able to do what they're doing again.
Where is that kind of statement about these protests that are unquestionably anti-Israel and parroting Hamas talking points from Joe Biden?
I mean, again, he has put out as clear a statement as possible about how anti-Semitism is wrong and the universities need to stand up to it. Again, Trump embraces the most famous anti-Semites in this country. That's a contrast that's as stark as any you can point out. You can dismiss it. You can wish the word happening, but it's true.
I'm not dismissing it.
It's undeniable.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.